But as I started to move into leadership positions in the school, and particularly when I got my first job as being principal of a secondary school, I found that my interest shifted. The base was still there, developing people, but it started to shift from the students to the staff and investment into them as people and into their careers and the things that they wanted to do.
Hi, folks. Welcome to IB Matters. And I am speaking with someone who is across the world. In fact, he's in tomorrow. He's enjoying the next day from my time zone. His name is Gavin Kinch, and he is in Singapore. And I came across Gavin's story a little bit on LinkedIn, of all places. And I was really excited when I saw the posting, and I'll let him tell you more about it. But first, let's learn about you, Gavin, and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, John. Much appreciated the opportunity to talk to you. So my name's Gavin. I grew up in London and actually started my career as a computer programmer, but quickly discovered that was not what I wanted. I loved working with young people and being in front of the computer the whole day was not for me. So I married my wife, who's an Australian, and we moved to Adelaide in South Australia. And I made the career switch there and worked in a couple of schools, one small, one large, and absolutely loved teaching. It was the bug, it bit me.
Yeah.
And I loved being somebody, it's a bit of a cliche, but, speaking into people's lives, making a difference. I really got a lot out of that. And so it was just a privilege to be a teacher, still is. Yeah, my wife and I had always talked about perhaps moving internationally. We had 3 children at the time when we were having that conversation. They were pretty young, and we were kind of like, well, it's now or never. So I threw my application in to a few different schools around the Asian region. And I was very, very fortunate to end up at ACS International, which is the school that I'm principal of at the moment.
Okay. So you kind of went from what type of teaching, what subject area did you work in?
I was an IT studies teacher through my computing program background. I was teaching students in all the different secondary levels. Up to what in Australia we just call Year 12, which is the final year of school where they completed their SAY studies. And then in addition to that, I was teaching maths. So maths and IT was really my background.
Okay. And did you get thrown into the IB right away there, or did you come across the IB later?
So when I was working in Adelaide, and I taught there for 13 years, I had zero exposure to IB. I didn't know anything about it. I hadn't come across it really in my professional experience. But when I was applying for Singapore, and a lot of the schools here, particularly the private international schools, are IB schools. I sort of had to get into it and understand it more than what I did before. And I remember I did an online interview for it, and it's one of those things where all around the camera, I had all of these IB documents there so that I was able to speak sort of intelligently about it in the interview. And then after I got through that sort of first screening interview, they flew me over to Singapore, and I spent a day doing interviews with them. This is for the job as vice principal at that point in time. And that was really the first time that I had entered an IB school, and one which it's pretty big in their program. We're just a DP school. We don't have the MYP here. We have about 400 students who are in the program across the 2 years. So graduating about 200 per year. So it's a big effort here at the school. And like any school, it's really the team that gets the work done. I have a phenomenal team who are experienced, competent and passionate about what they do. So I've got a vice principal who's in charge of the IB, Mrs. Tan Siu Hoon. She's been doing this for so long, program evaluation leader, and just has a massive heart for kids. So to have somebody of that caliber really leading the program and walking with me on the journey of this again, it's just a privilege. And then so
Yeah.
many talented people. Our IB coordinator, Ms. Carol Ling's, been working here for many, many years,
Yeah.
has a tremendous partnership. And between the two of them, they would know every student doing the IB here, which 400 students is a lot. They know
Yeah.
each student's case inside and out. Then we have a core team. We've got a dedicated person to look after the extended essay, CAS, and TOK as
Yeah.
well. So we put so much effort in, and our heads of faculty are people who, again, just want to meet our students where they're at, and we have very aspirational students.
Hmm.
So for us to be able to be a group of educators who understand our students, are able to help guide them and provide them the opportunities that open up so many doors globally for them. It's just an absolute privilege to lead that team and be part of it. So I'm a very lucky principal.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like, you've got a team, like you said, that's been established for a long time. And, when you describe the size of the program, when you have that many students, just, anyone listening who's working in a DP school, just to imagine how you track all the mentors that have to be available for the extended essay and helping them with their CAS opportunities and all the other IAs that have to be uploaded and, working with individual teachers to do all the detail work. It takes the whole school to be on board for that. You can't have anyone dragging the group back.
Yeah, you're 100% right. And our teachers pick up a lot of that load, and I'm very thankful to them for that. As a school, we're quite fortunate in that our teachers have 60% teaching load throughout the week. And they have that, what I would say is probably a lower teaching load than normal, because we place a lot of expectations above and beyond what just happens in the classroom.
Oh, sure.
Like we want to be a school that's not just about what's happening in the four walls of the classroom.
Right.
Our teachers get involved in so many activities outside of that. So if in the context of IB, taking extended essay students, being assigned to their tutor groups where they're looking at their CAS reflections and projects, and then getting involved in the other holistic parts of the school. So
Yeah.
all of our teachers are involved in at least one co-curricular activity and school events as well. So they're a busy bunch,
Yeah.
but they're dedicated. They do a great job. So
Sure.
I think we're going in the right direction.
You'd written an article about, and that you were talking about some of your teachers and so on, and when you described the team, it kind of fits in with what when I read your article about the classroom teacher versus the school teacher. That's something I wanted you to share with our audience, if you would. Do you want to just describe that too, please?
I use the term people use the term like I'm a classroom teacher.
Yeah.
And I've taken that term to mean really what it says. That is, I teach in the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, there's definitely a place for that. We need to have expert teachers in the classroom, experts in pedagogy, experts in understanding young people, experts in content delivery. And so for me, when we get like a brand new teacher, new to the teaching profession, my view is that as school leaders and as schools, we should support them in being the very best classroom teacher that they should be.
Yeah.
Their efforts initially for the first couple of years or however long it should be is really about honing their craft, becoming teachers who are very competent and knowledgeable about their subjects, about what's happening in their classroom. And that really should be their focus. And as schools and as school leaders, we should be investing in them and not burdening them with things which happen beyond their classroom walls.
Sure. Giving them all the support they need to just work with the students in their subject area. And I'm sure there's a lot of IB onboarding too, just to know kind of what's the ins and outs of the individual courses they teach.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, with teacher retention rates across the world can be challenging at times. And in my home place of Australia, retention is super, super important. And so that investment into the people in your school hopefully means that they'll be there for the long term. But more broadly speaking, you hope that if you give them that good career foundation at the very start, then they'll stay in the career for a long time. But there's a balance there as well, because I think that in terms of career development and maturity, there comes a point where you actually need your teachers to look beyond what's just happening in their classroom.
Okay. Yeah.
I've come across teachers before who they just stay in their classroom. They don't interact a lot with people in the rest of the school. They don't know who they are, and
Hmm.
they're just interested in that. And I think it's okay to a point, but I think that a natural, healthy way to develop is actually to transition from being that concept of a classroom teacher
Yeah.
through to being a school teacher. And that's where your thoughts, your ideas, your contribution moves from being outside the walls of your classroom and
Hmm.
expands into what's happening in the rest of the school.
Yeah.
And that can be in a whole different range of,
Yeah.
expressions. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be going up like the school leadership hierarchy. It can be, you can do it in any way you want, really. So I think the first entry for many people might be, in terms of the faculty, would be right. We want you to help develop a course that's going to be taught to all of our year eights or our year nines, and be
Yeah.
part of that. It might be in getting involved in school development that we're interested in, maybe putting on a new CCA. And so staff start, now that they've got that solid foundation in their classrooms, now they're looking to what
Yeah.
will my contribution be to the school. I think that from that you grow and develop, and then you start moving into that sort of mid-stage career teacher,
Hmm.
and then start to impart the things that you've known, that you've learnt, that you've experienced, to those people who are kind of where you were a few years ago.
Hmm.
So I think that that's a really healthy development for teachers to move from being classroom to school focused.
I hadn't heard it put exactly that way. I've experienced it personally myself, and I've witnessed others in my role with the Minnesota IB Association. I watch young or new coordinators. That's kind of who I work with directly, is the coordinators in the Minnesota. We have 55 IB schools in Minnesota and about 80 programs. And so I see new coordinators come in, and it's kind of fun to see they're kind of walking that walk of becoming a school teacher, not just the classroom teacher. And my own experience, I had a wonderful superintendent of schools, and this is a large school district, had 22,000 students and
Yeah.
three high schools. And I was just a new coordinator in one of those high schools, but the superintendent took time to hand me some leadership books and gave me some time to just kind of read. And she talked to me once in a while and just say, "What did you learn, or what do you think? Do you have questions?" And those kind of things. And it sounds like you as a building leader are encouraging that, and I think that's really a good thing. And I wanted to make sure that listeners heard this thing that I really have come to believe, is that the role of an IB coordinator or any of the other members of the team, like extended essay leader or CAS coordinator or whatever, those are roles that a classroom teacher doesn't really experience. And just think of all the growth that they develop. And, I speak personally when I think about how much more capacity I have to do things than I did when I was 28 years a high school science teacher, and then when I finally got out of my classroom teacher mode, I was doing other things. I was, department chair, and I coached and all those things. But when it comes to kind of being that school leader, that's a whole nother thing. And I really wanted
Mm.
to hear your discussion of that, because I really enjoyed reading about it.
Yeah, I think for me personally, I got into teaching because I just loved working with young people, the energy they had, and I love being part of their character formation. And for a long time, probably the first 10 years of my teaching, and that's really what motivated me. But as I started to move into leadership positions in the school, and particularly when I got my first job as being principal of a secondary school, I found that my interest shifted.
Hmm.
The base was still there, developing people, but it started to shift from the students to the staff, and investment into them as people and into
Yeah.
their careers and the things that they wanted to do. And that was a shift in mindset. But as a people business, as working in the people industry,
Yeah. Yeah.
it didn't change. It just shifted where my focus was, and then hopefully seeing those characteristics and traits that people learn and sort of start to sort of work their way down through the school system so that it touches, all parts of the school.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and you know that if it's done, if the teachers and if that you've got a good team and the teachers are already good and competent in their classrooms, that the kids are going to benefit. They're the bottom line. That's what you want to make sure is happening, is that the kids are getting the best education you could deliver. One of the questions I had for you is just kind of what's your favorite part of the job? What do you love about being a principal? Not even an IB principal, just what do you like about being the principal?
I love championing other people, being their advocates, encouraging them and getting them to maybe see opportunities that they weren't aware of. So members of my team stepping into roles in the Council of International Schools or stepping up to be involved in the IB, or in other, going to be conference speakers. All of these things that perhaps on your own, you've got that sort of imposter syndrome, oh, I won't do it. But when you've got somebody who says, hey, why don't you do this? I thought of you when this came up, and I think you do a great job. You should do this. We would support you in doing it. And they just need that nudge to get them going. Like, I love that. I love, this sounds a bit funny, but, with our students, they're young people, they make mistakes. Their time to make mistakes is now in schools when they're developing, when they're forming their character, when they've got people around them who, care for them and are sort of their trusted teachers. And so, working with young people and, who've maybe made a mistake at school, got in some trouble inside or outside of school, but really saying to them, look, we're here for you. I'm going to be your biggest advocate. I'm going to be your biggest champion. I believe in you. You've got so much potential. You've got so much good stuff going on. Let's just commit to continuing to write this really positive story that you started. And so for me, that's probably the best part of the job.
Let me shift gears a little bit. I think the actual post that I saw that drew my attention to you is the fact that you were just named, I think, head of the new IB School Leadership Council. Is that correct? Am I saying it right?
So it's the chair of the IB School Leadership Council, which was formerly known as the IB Heads Council.
Right. Yeah, and so that's maybe just explain to the listeners a little bit about how that fits in, because I know there's a number of councils now. They're reorganizing a little bit, and they've added some new groups.
The IB is really interested in what our thoughts are about initiatives which they're developing. And lots of initiatives are in different stages. So sometimes they'll say, it'll be quite a high level question. So it'll be like, what should an IB education look like in 10 years' time? What should it look like in 20 years' time? And so they'll be seeking our input and our feedback into what we think it should be looking like, so that they can take that away and add it in with the other input which they've got and their other educational thought leadership, their partner organizations, and they put that information together and, formulate a strategy or a plan about what it might look like in that high level 10, 20 years time frame. So that's some of our discussion.
Yeah.
Some of it is more about kind of stuff which is in the midterm, sort of 3 to 5 years away. So discussions around the systems transformation project that's being prototyped in several schools around the world. Like, what's the timeline for that? It might be looking at e-assessments, like what's your view on the timeline? What have our communications have been like? Is there anything that we've missed? What are you hearing from other school leaders in terms of the positives and things that we can work on and improve on? So it becomes a really good dialogue and feedback channel. And then there's things which happen in the short term. So like time zone cheating issues. It might be like, so, what are your thoughts on that? What can we do as an IB to try and protect against that? What are some of the impacts that these particular set of solutions might have on schools? So it's really getting a voice of the schools into the thinking of the IB directly from people who are working in schools or school systems.
Sounds like an important role. And I think are there now 4 other councils that have different aspects of the IB they're working with, like educational systems. And
the IB definitely is being keen to hear from the people that it serves. And of course, the biggest group of that is students. And so There's been the introduction of the Youth Advisory Council, where students from all around the globe have been appointed to it. Again, it's a 12-member panel. Students applied, so they were nominated and then went through a selection process. And now they meet with the Director General and other IB staff in the same way that we do as the School Leadership Council.
Yeah.
And they talk through the issues that are important to them. Like, do you feel like the IB has prepared you for the global world that you find yourself in now? What do you think it should look like in 5 years' time? What was your experience? So hearing that voice. There's an assessment council that's been there for quite a long time, though I don't think that's a new one. And I believe, there's talk about, other sectors which need to be captured in that sort of feedback mechanism. So where you've got, say, public schools and you've got large public systems, how do you make sure that the decision makers in those systems are getting their input into the IB? So, one big growth area at the moment is in South Korea, in the public schools over there. So how do we listen to the feedback from those administrators and government officials about what their experience has been and what the IB can learn from that as it moves forwards with its agenda of growth of the IB across the globe?
Well, I know I've been with the IB myself, or in my role anyway, or roles like this, teaching and coordinating and such, for a little over 20 years, and it's changed a lot just in those 20 years. So it's good that they continue to evolve and adjust and adapt. And one more thing I wanted to, you're a man of many hats. One other thing I discovered is that you are also a podcaster. Tell us a little bit about your podcast and what you're doing with that.
Sure. So it's called the Global Ed Podcast, and it aims to share stories from around the globe of principals who have worked through just really interesting, challenging, and thought-provoking situations. Many of them I know personally, having been to their schools or met them at conferences or know them personally. And some of whom I reach out to them because I've heard their story and think, wow, this is a story that I want to share.
Yeah.
So I'm looking for people who are not seeking like a spotlight on them. They're doing something incredible, but it's a story which has not really been told. Yeah. So, for example, there's a friend of mine who opened up a school in the largest landfill in Asia, located in Jakarta, Indonesia.
Wow.
I've been there. Like the where people live is literally a landfill where they have cut holes into the landfill and built their, like I say, built a home. They've scavenged rubbish and built a home out of rubbish.
Wow.
And they have a school there of kids sitting down on the mud, surrounded by all of the landfill that comes in from Jakarta, and she's there teaching. Wow. Now that's an inspiring story.
That is. Wow.
And so to go there and witness it, and then be able to give her an opportunity to share what she's doing is an immense privilege. Other stories, a lady who works with the Shoshone-Paiute Native American tribes in Western US, to hear her story about how her school group and the people that she serves and the journey that they have been on as a people is just incredibly humbling. And the things that they face are things which me in Singapore, I don't have to face.
Right.
Principals who work with First Nations people in Australia live on remote islands with like nothing there really. I've visited the school that the school leader there, and it is hard work. Because as we say in Australia, it's hard yakka. Like nothing is easy, everything is hard, and so to be able to give them a platform to just share something and bring that out to other people, it's a privilege. I started it because somebody asked me, who are the people who inspire you in education? And I think they thought my answer was going to be, educational thought leaders, but it wasn't. It's actually the people who are getting their hands and feet dirty, dealing with really trying situations with people who at times can have real challenges and real struggles. They're the people who inspire me. They're the people who I want to know, I want to be challenged by, I want to support. So that's what the Global Ed Podcast is all about.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, I'll definitely be putting links to your podcast directly in our show notes as well. And
Thank you. Season 1, episode 1 is a story about a principal leading an international school in Kyiv back when Russia attacked Ukraine. And to hear her story of what happened there and what happened in the years after is amazing. So make sure you get on and listen to that one.
Oh, yeah. Season 1, episode 1.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So is there anything else, Gavin, that you'd like to share? I'm so glad that you were able to take the time and talk to me today. And I hope everyone learned as much as I did talking to you.
Look, I just want to encourage all of the educators and all the school leaders who are out there in trying situations around the world, wherever they might be. It's worth the fight. It's worth the hard work. It's worth the effort. As educators, we have the privilege of working with future generations and shaping their minds, their thoughts, and their hearts early on in their life. And that's an immense privilege, and there's some weight that comes with that. And we should be mindful of it, respectful of it, and continue on with the good work. We want to create a better world, a more peaceful place. We want to have better intercultural understanding. But that doesn't come easy. That comes with hard work. And so for everybody out there, whether you're in IB schools or not, hang in there. We're doing stuff which makes a difference in the lives of our young people. And that's really important for them, for our communities and for our world. Yeah.
Well said. And again, thank you for being on with us today, and good luck to you, and good luck to your students with their school year just kind of getting going now, right?
Yeah, we're in week 4. So week 4, term 1. So we're just about settled down and into the rhythm of school.
Just getting going.
So that's good. And then soon we'll be thinking about next year. So
yeah, exactly.
There you go.
All right. Well, thanks so much.
No problem. Thanks for having me, John, and all the best to you and your listeners.
Thanks for listening. Please check out the podcast notes for links related to this episode. We now have over 130 IB Matters episodes covering a wide range of subjects. To help you find topics of interest to you, use our podcast webpage linked in the notes. There's also a link in the notes to directly text us with comments, suggestions, or to let me know that you would like to appear on a future episode of IB Matters. Find all our episodes wherever you get your podcasts and hit subscribe so you don't miss any future programs. Please note that we are migrating our social network presence away from X. Find us on Instagram at IB_Matters. Also help spread the word about IB by liking, sharing, and reviewing the IB Matters links in your own feeds and social networks. Now in our 7th year, we've been heard in over 180 countries, a testament to the global reach of the IB.